Spoilers, obviously. I say that now because my opening joke is a spoiler. So you have 3, 2, 1 to get out of here, and here we go. Why was Mystique's gun bluer than she was? Yellow, my little filmer dudes. My name is Ivan Montero, and thank you for joining me on another journey to watch every TV show ever created. Not really, but we are gonna get close. Xmen 97 season 2 just ended, and honestly, I had to sit with it for a few days because I ultimately was a little bit disappointed by the season. I was expecting an Age of Apocalypse, or at least an Apocalypse storyline, and what we got was Apocalypse Light. It's basically Apocalypse LaCroix is what we got. All the fizz, but absolutely no flavor or sugar. And it's disappointing because I said it in my spoiler-free reel. I said that this season reminded me of The Last Jedi. Both visually impressive, both having great standout moments, both on their own kind of okay. But when you stack them up to the overall story being told, fail. Because episodes 5 through 9 really don't do anything for Apocalypse whatsoever. And I know episodes 8 and 9 are Apocalypse centric, but if you rewatch episode 9, not really. And then if you rewatch episode 8, also not really, because you're led to believe that he died, but we obviously all know he didn't die. So it's just, it's dumb. Because we got like what we got 5, 6, and 7 doing absolutely nothing for the overall story, setting up more Onslaught and other things more than anything. But then X Corp was also created, the absolute most useless and pointless building and corporation to have ever existed in anything, honestly. Because what did they just played poker, they played chess. What did they didn't even have any beignets. The X Mansion, at least Gambit made beignets. Granted, they didn't have Gambit to make beignets, but still, no snacks. And I know this is all supposed to be set up for Onslaught for season 3, but it's just, we made no room for the main storyline, because episodes 1 through 4, again, they were almost perfect. I love them. The episode, what was it? The first part of the Enzabinor episode was a little, dragged a little bit, but it made up for having a great episode 4. And I genuinely thought, like, this is where we're gonna go. I mean, I even liked the Danger episode, but the problem with that is that he created X Corp is what the problem was. No, the main problem with all of this is that they're rushing these storylines. Danger was I mean, of course, Danger, the Goblin Queen from season 1. I mean, all of those like mini episodes were like longer comic runs that took years, of course, because that's how comics that's how they operate. At least that's how they did operate back then. I don't know about it now. So there was this like lingering, we're investing this time into these things, kind of like good television. But unfortunately, with this whole new like 10 episode streaming era, we're given absolutely no proper time, breathing room, investment time to really dive into these episodes, both creatively, both writing wise. And then as an audience member, I don't feel as satisfied as I was in season 1. Season 1, we ate really freaking good. It was equate to a Christmas dinner. I almost said Thanksgiving, but I am partial to honey ham, and I freaking love ham over turkey. So that's, Christmas dinner. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, birthday dinner. And if your birthday sucks, then a really good dinner. But all we got was a Stouffer's microwave meal. We're like, this kind of looks good. It kind of feels like it would taste pretty good, but there's no salt or seasoning. And I don't want to nitpick too much on Xmen 97 because, again, it's still a good presentation. I gave it a 7.9 out of 10, which is insane because I gave the first season a 10 out of 10. It would be a little less insane if I were just to give just like, ooh, 7, ooh, 9s, ooh, 10s, but like I include those points in there. So like that's a huge jump. And if we're being realistic, like Xmen 97 season 1 is more like a 9.6, 9.7, but like that's if we're nitpicking. and I choose not to. Because X-Men 97 Season 1, though it changed Genosha, the person responsible for Genosha, from Cassandra Nova, my favorite X-Men villain of all time. I think she's freaking cool. Oh, I don't know, I freaking love her. She's so weird. But they changed it from Cassandra Nova to Bastion, and that should have pissed me off, but it didn't, because it was freaking phenomenally done. It was, I don't know, dude. It was so freaking good and so unexpected. It just came out of nowhere, but the setup was completely there. And good shows, especially good mystery shows, but a good show with a, like, well, you know what? Scratch that. Any good show will definitely make you go back and say, those puzzle pieces were there. That is on me. Good job, writers. And that is not what I said about season 2. I mean, I don't know about y'all, but I did get a little bored throughout the rest of season 2 because I'm just waiting for the Apocalypse storyline. I'm here sitting with Magneto's death thinking, when are we gonna get back to that? I don't think we're ever gonna get back to that, and we never got back to that. Part of me is happy because if they had rushed the Onslaught storyline, that would have also made me pissed. But the Onslaught setup and Easter eggs are only noticeable if you are a fan of Onslaught. If you're not a fan of Onslaught and you've never read those storylines, then none of what Charles Xavier does is either going to make sense or translate as, oh, that is not Charles, that's Eric. That is Eric. That is Onslaught. And otherwise you're just watching this season like, I'm just confused, but I'm watching because it looks kind of cool. And it did look kind of cool, but did anybody else notice that the colors were muted? They're muted, which is both funny and I think frustrating, but it's funny because who the fuck do they think they are? The goddamn Russo brothers? Season 3 better put the color back into X-Men 97 because whatever this was, it was weird. I think I was the only one who noticed, but like I said in my opening joke, Mystique's gun is bluer than Mystique, making Mystique look kind of gray, like grayish blue. This whole season is hilarious in an ironic sense. And I was correct to be worried about this season because of those rewrites for season 2. And a lot of people were like, oh, you should be worried about season 3 because he already wrote season 2. Yeah, he already wrote season 2. But as we just said and read and heard and all of the things, X-Men 97 season 2 got the what if writers to rework what had already been done because they wanted to do their own thing. And was that own thing Onslaught? I don't think so. I think that own thing was the X-Force, X-Corp, X-Factor. Too many teams. Too many, for what? You said 9 episodes. Let's involve 4 to 5 teams, and then we're gonna have characters just inexplicably absent from episodes, and then we're gonna have other characters just kind of sitting there waiting to join in the battle when they could have just joined in the first place. It's so weird. There's no communication happening within this season of X-Men 97. We lost the soap opera-ness, which creates a different kind of non-communication because at least we're like, oh, the drama, but now we're just like, oh, that's dumb. So honestly, I kind of just went on this ride excited, but then the finale was one of the most overstuffed, overrushed things I've ever seen. Hyperbolic, but the sentiment is there. I don't know, man. What was that? A lot of people are like, oh, that is the apocalypse or present day apocalypse or whatever, and he's going to escape, but we're gonna have the age of apocalypse. But absolutely not, because Apocalypse in the future said, I'm gonna go back to the 90s to get those X-Men, and that is what he did. And I think if we were given a lot more episodes, this is how I would have done this season. I would have had those 4 episodes, maybe change a little things up just to make them not so rushed, because we just jump right into we gotta get the X-Men back to the 90s. And my first thought was, oh, just jumping right into the inciting incident, just barely in a setup, but that's fine. Your recap, I guess, is your act 1. But anyway, I would keep those 4 episodes, right? And then I would have the danger episode be half, and then I would have episode 5 be half the danger episode and half Wolverine getting his claws back. Kind of like what they did for Jubilee's episode with Mojo. Is that his name? Jojo? No, it's Mojo. Is it? And then Life, Death Part 1. I think it was Life, Death Part 1. But they should have done that instead. And then episode 6 should have been, I would have gotten rid of the Savage Land episode entirely, because the Savage Land episode is a little dumb. This is the worst episode of the season. It doesn't need to exist. Oh my God, the Creed and Creed stuff is the stuff that they wanted to be part of, because, like, you know, he's the new president. He's obviously gonna be who you know who. But I would have had episode 8, Dead Man's Hand, be episode 6, so that we could have more time of Gambit being the Horseman Death. And I would not have rushed that. I think I would have seen like 1 or 2 episodes of Gambit just being the Horseman Death. But throughout that episode and episode 7, 8, and 9, we would have seen Apocalypse's backstory with the external, because the fact that that was brushed over in a hilarious manner, by the way. Like, his only reaction is to grunt. It's so funny. This is the love of his life, and the only thing he can say is, what a bummer. But that's the whole point. This is his one and only love, and he kept saying, oh, love is going to be your downfall, blah, 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 blah. We should have seen Apocalypse give into love, into Rogue's words, and then seeing his betrayal, and then him connecting the dots of, this was Rogue's fault, I'm gonna get back at her one day type thing. And that would really spell out the reason why Apocalypse chose specifically Gambit. Not just to mess with the X-Men, but to mess with Rogue, the one who pushed him, who convinced him to give into love that led to his like greatest hurt moment ever. We could have still had some X-Force, some X-Factor. Honestly, I don't know if I would have included, I mean, yeah, we kind of had to have X-Force, so I just don't know if I would have included, wait, which one is it? There's too many X's! Havoc's team, Val Cooper's team. Though I did kind of like what was happening, we just didn't have enough room for them. That's why like 15 episodes would have been just fine. But alas, what can you do? The last thing I want to talk about is the finale, Rogue's sacrifice. I thought that it was pretty good. I didn't know why she had to go like flying around the atmosphere for a bit. Like, couldn't you have been there fighting the entire time? Like, I know that why the writers excluded her, because she's an insane powerhouse and she would have wiped the floor with everyone. But apparently a lot of time had passed between that moment in which she's like, I'm gonna go cruise the earth, and by the time she gets back at night, because it was day when that happened, and then it transitioned to nighttime, which was way to explain that time had passed, that they've been fighting for all day, because Val Cooper's like, we have him on the ropes, so suddenly, but it's nighttime. Cinematic, I guess. Not really. We're being told that they fought for a while, but we didn't really see those fights, and the fights that we did see were insanely short. And again, Rogue is just perusing the atmosphere for no reason whatsoever. Why? Like, I don't know why she had to wait until that moment to make her moment. Like, Charles was about to get squashed by everyone, and like she had, like it was like an Underoos moment. Did you plan this, Charles? Did you plan all of this? Because it was a little too convenient. But anyway, Rogue drops in, sucks the life out of Apocalypse, and that's it. That's the whole battle. And I didn't really like it. Because it just seemed weird. Like, everyone's calling it a cop-out, and at first I was like, it's not that much of a cop-out. It is just bizarre, dude. Like, Apocalypse doesn't get to fight. He was at bay this entire time, and we're just expected to be okay with it because we got X-Force and X-Factor, but they're not the main point of the season, and I now realize they were the additions. They were the rewrites. I bet X-Force had more to do with the storylines than X-Factor. Am I thinking the same? Am I thinking the right ones? Cable's team had more to do in the original storylines, I'm guessing, than Val Cooper's team. I bet you Val Cooper's team was part of the original plans, but like very little. Very little, like that little splinter in your hand or your finger, your foot, or wherever you get your splinters. Everyone's different. Not everybody gets splinters in the same place, but that's the thing. Not the splinters, the other teams. Val Cooper's team almost has no reason being there other than to set up season 3, and it would have been fine if they had like a smaller presence, not so big of a presence, because again, they're nothing. We know they're never gonna win. We know they're just the not even the C-list team, like what, the G-list team. So they don't need to be around, especially because Havoc is one of my favorite mutants. His powers are so freaking cool, and the fact that they didn't barely use them, it's just, I mean, it's and me thinks season 2 should have just been completely left alone. Should have just been left alone, because we got this and it wasn't bad, but it's not great, and I am willing to admit that. So, and then Nightcrawler sacrifice. I will say that twist did get me. Oh, before we get into that, I do want to say that when Cable shot Gambit, my first thought was, great, you've just opened the door for Apocalypse. You just killed the one thing, the one dude that was keeping Apocalypse at bay. And I just found it so stupid that none of these people, especially the telepaths, thought about this, because I mean they were like right there. They were on that fence of getting that answer, and they just never got to that answer. But when Cable shot Gambit point blank, yeah, sure, it's one of those shocking moments. It was meant to be shocking, something that like, oh my god, we cannot believe that just happened. But anyway, Nightcrawler sacrifice. I am seeing everywhere online that legitimately 50% of the people love it and 50% of the people do not. And I can understand both sides. I'm frankly on the side that I liked the sacrifice only because it was a shocking sacrifice, only because it was a character fitting thing for Nightcrawler to do. But then on the flip side, I also agree with the fact that Nightcrawler stole Rogue's moment. And that, I mean, that is the whole point of doing sacrifices, right? You do something kind of without telling the other person, because the other person would be like, no, it's gotta be me. I gotta be the one to do it. And the other person's like, no, I will be the one. And they don't say anything, and then they end up being the one. And this harkens back to Avengers Endgame, when it was supposed to be Hawkeye the one who jumps off the cliff and sacrifices himself. And Scarlett Johansson herself goes into the writer's room and is like, actually, no. She's like, do not steal this from her. This is her moment to finally get redemption, the thing that she's been looking for. I can't think about that too much. It's gonna make me cry. And I just thought about that bit in Endgame, and I thought to myself, okay, now we have the discussion of, was Nightcrawler's sacrifice the right call, or did he steal Rogue's moment? Again, that's what sacrifices are. So honestly, I understand both camps, but I am on the side of, I kind of like this. Not because Rogue and Gambit get to be together, but because it was a shocking sacrifice, and it is something that Kurt would do. And his final lines, I have faith. I mean, that is what drives every single person. And whether or not you have faith in religion, you got faith in something, you're confidently walking around, not being driven up to the atmosphere because gravity has not betrayed you. You have faith that science is going to do its thing. So to me, I just found this the most human decision that Kurt could have done. Yeah, they're mutants, they're all about mutant kind and everything, but they're also people. And I think that what his sacrifice was supposed to convey and mean is that Kurt had done the most human thing that anybody could have and would have done. And this is the most selfless act from anyone. at all, and I think it was phenomenal. I think it was great because Rogue, she gambled big and she won big. That was the point of Rogue's sacrifice, because she did do the selfless thing of sacrificing herself, right? She said, I don't care if I die, I'm going to make sure my love wins. Oh my god. A lot of people might say that what Kurt did was a selfish decision. I don't think so. I think he was doing this to reward Rogue, to let Rogue realize that there is hope to be had, there is faith to be explored, there is more to her story than just this. It's not just we're just gonna save Gambit and then die, because Rogue's journey was a really rough one from season 1 to season 2, and I don't think she had learned the correct lesson when she made that sacrifice. So Kurt making that sacrifice allows Rogue to actually learn the right lesson that she needs, which is there is more to life than just giving up. And I love it. I love it. I love that. That's why I think that little bit did save the rest of the season. I don't know. That's it. That's my spoiler review. Let me know what you guys thought of this season in the comments below. Spoilers away. Open season for them. So go ahead, comment your spoiler thoughts. My social media links are in the description below, and I will see you next time. You've just been Montified.